Hi everyone and welcome back to Novel Nomad, and today I'll be doing the mid-year book tag. I decided to do this one because I really don't do that many wrap-ups, and I've realised I probably need to do this. I used to do seasonal wrap-ups and I think I will go back to that mode just because my monthly wrap-ups I always have something exciting new coming in. I always forget to review things going out. So I might go back to my seasonal wrap-ups, but I thought this is a really great tag to go through what I've read this year so far and what I've found absolutely amazing, exciting and disappointing. So I saw this tag done by Amy and I'll link her all down below. Do check her video out, it was really interesting. But I thought I'd get started straight into the questions. Question 1 is best book you've read this year. Now I am terrible at making decisions when they say the only book you like. So I've chosen a few and these are ones that have really surprised me or just gripped me so emotionally, and that's what I love, when the characters and the story can grip you so well. The first one is Phantom Limbs by Paula Garner. This is a young adult fiction and it's about a traumatic loss and between these two teenagers who love each other and can they find their way back to each other. The second one is no surprise because I did it with a group of lovely booktuber ladies, and that is The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery, about Valancy Sterling breaking out of her mould that her family has placed her in and finding out who she is. My third favourite book of 2007 so far is definitely A Suitable Vengeance by Elizabeth George. This is book 4 in the Inspector Lynley series, and this one is actually more of a prequel to the other books, and it just ties in so well with the story so far, and you really get to discover the characters before you meet them in book 1. And my fourth favourite book of 2017 so far is definitely going to be The Wild Air by Rebecca Muskell. I am actually doing a review of this book. It will be coming out this week hopefully, and you get to hear all my lovely thoughts on this one. It is a historical fiction set in the early 20th century, so just before World War I and during World War I, and it follows Della Dobbs, who embarks on the journey to become an aviatrix. Question 2 is best sequel. Now that one definitely has to go to The September Society by Charles Finch. This is a Charles Lennox series, which is a murder mystery series set in Victorian England, late Victorian England, and this one was just as good as the first. Usually it's really hard to capture the excitement of the first book, but this one does it so well, and it doesn't cause any detriment to the character development or the plot or suspense. So it was an incredible sequel. Question 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and that is definitely going to The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. To sum it up really briefly, historical fiction following a lady spy network during World War I and World War II, and the secrets and mysteries that are hidden beneath. Question 4 is most anticipated release, and that is by far going to Kristen Cashaw's latest book. It's called Jane Unlimited, and I'm a huge fan of her Graceline trilogy. I think I read those books in a frenzy and then I did not stop recommending them to all of my friends. So yes, I cannot wait for her latest release. I only found out about it a week ago and I was shocked that it's coming out this year. And Kristen Cashaw is an author who doesn't have a huge release cycle, so getting one of her books coming out is super exciting. Question 5 is biggest disappointment, and number 1 is definitely going to be We Were Liars, which is a YA thriller mystery suspense novel. I think for me personally, I have had so much exposure to crime novels and suspense novels. It wasn't really well constructed for me, and I just had too much criticism with the actions of the characters. So I didn't really enjoy that one. I guessed many of the things that were going to happen before they did, so it wasn't really a big shock to me at the end. It was a bit tedious to read it. The other book, I suppose that's part of my collection that was a bit of a disappointment, and that is Josephine Tey's The Man in the Queue. It is a golden age crime novel, and it follows Inspector Alan Grant as he investigates the murder of a man in the queue who's stabbed by a stiletto knife. This one was quite interesting actually, and it had a really intense scene in it, well, like halfway through the book, and it was definitely going to be at least a 4-star read. And then it suddenly dropped away, the suspense and the tension was lost, and the ending almost just like petered out at the end. It just didn't have a really good tension throughout the plot, so it was very disappointing. It was more disappointing in the way that it let me down at the end, not from any preconceived notions I had about the book going into it. Question 6 was biggest surprise, and for me that's going to be Phantom Limbs by Paula Garner. I mentioned this earlier. This is actually one of my favourite books of the year so far. The reason why this is a surprise is I've never taken very well to YA books that deal with a certain kind of loss or tragedy, unless they're done exceedingly well. I've never enjoy those books that use tragedy as a plot device. This one though used a tragedy, but it also caused you to look at how character development was affected through that, and not just between characters but individual character development. So that was really, really well done, and the writing was superb. Question 7 is favourite new author, and that for me is definitely going to be Penny Reid. She writes contemporary romance and it is absolutely hilarious. She's maintained that women don't have to be stupid or have to be naive or have to be fit a certain mould to become in the contemporary section, and all of her heroines are very clever and individual people. So that's why I enjoy reading her books so much, because women can be quirky, can be weird, can be funny, and it just is a fantastic read. Newest fictional crush definitely goes to the Wild Heir Dudley Willow. Now, I never thought I would like the name Dudley, especially after the Harry Potter series, but Rebecca Musco, you have saved the name Dudley for me, because Dud in this book is absolutely gorgeous. He is a beautiful human being, and I finished the book with a fair bit of a crush on Dudley Willow. Question 9 is newest favourite character, and that one goes hands down to Valancy Sterling. This woman is absolutely beautiful. She's not afraid to be who she is, but she's not afraid not to be just bold and brass, but she's also kind and caring. There is a level of complexity to Valancy's character that really resonated with me, and I just want to be her friend. I just thought she was an absolutely beautiful person through and through, and I was rooting for her all the way through the book. Question 10 is a book that made you cry. Now, I haven't had any books that made me cry yet. It has to be really intensely emotional for me to cry, but I have had some books that the character development has been so intense that I've been so worried for the characters getting through certain dramatic scenes that I have been very anxious whilst reading it, and that goes definitely to Phantom Limbs. The tragedy and the experiences of these characters, you don't want them to suffer anymore, and seeing that pain is just horrendous. Next one is definitely going to be The Wild Heir. The way Rebecca Musco manages to really capture the characters and then hook you to them, you've never been so emotionally connected to characters before. I was going to be a blubbering mess. I nearly was in many, many scenes, but I managed to hold out, and the tension for these characters was very extreme. And finally, the one that stuck very close to my heart throughout the entire read and afterwards is Mary Robinette Kowal's The Ghost Stalkers. This is set in World War I, a bit of an alternate World War I, where there's actually psychics and they can communicate with the dead, and the dead actually report in and tell them where they've been shot, different guard movements. So it's a really interesting way of making psychic abilities militarized, especially during the First World War. And being set during the First World War, there's a lot of emotional drama that occurs, and I loved these characters. I loved the tension, and I just felt for them so much. Question 11 is a book that made you happy. Now, I'm taking one that a book that made me laugh uproariously, even on public transport, in the walking through the park. I was that crazy person reading and listening to this book. That is definitely going to be A Damsel in Distress by P.G. Wodehouse. This is my first foray into P.G. Wodehouse, and I'm not going back. This was absolutely fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of this book, and I cannot wait to read more. I think I just was quoting lines to my family and friends. They probably got completely annoyed with me in the end, but it is so fantastic. I cannot recommend this book enough, and if you are a P.G. Wodehouse fan, tell me your favourites or where I should start. Should I go straight into the Jeeves series, or should I dabble around in some other ones? Question 12 is favourite book to film adaptation. Now, I haven't actually read the book for this. I didn't realise it was a book until after I saw the movie, and that is Their Finest. It's based off of the book by Lisa Evans called Their Finest Hour and a Half, and it is about a film company who work for the government, British government, and they're trying to bring a very human story to the public that can really engage the public's emotions and heighten the public morale, especially during the times of the Blitz and bombings. Question 13 is favourite review you've written this year, and that is hands down going to go to the review I'm going to be putting up on The Wild Air. I had good fun with that review, as you'll probably see coming soon. And also I have written a review of it on my Goodreads. It is a beautiful, beautiful book, and I hope more people read it. And if you have, tell me about it. I need someone to talk to. It is such a beautiful book, and if you love Dudley Willow, please tell me. Question 14 is most beautiful book you've bought this year or you've received, and mine is going to be a bought, and that is, oh, this chunker. It is the Van Gogh The Seasons exhibition book from the National Gallery of Victoria. It is closing very, very soon, so if you haven't seen this exhibition, please do go. It is a fantastic opportunity to see how Van Gogh's art was inspired by nature. He did write a lot of it in his letters, and it was fantastic to read that, but also even reading the book. The quality of the pictures in any of the National Gallery's books are absolutely beautiful, and I highly recommend them even for a keepsake. I keep all of the exhibition books I buy when I go to certain exhibitions, and they are such a treasure. So this one definitely wins hands down for the most beautiful book I've purchased so far. And the final question is question 15, which is what books do you want to read by the end of the year? And just going to hold these ones up. These ones are the crying shame of my TBR at the moment. Wheel of Osham. I'm halfway through this book. I do not know why I haven't finished it. I've kind of got to a point where I've like, okay, I can really bookmark that, go read some other books, and I'll come back to it. It is really good so far. It's going to be such a great end to the series. I can't wait to go back and read the first Mark Lawrence's Broken Empire series, and then I'll go to read The Red Sister. It's dark fantasy excellentness. The other book is Bleak House. I've mentioned this many, many times. I think if I keep mentioning it, I will read it. So let's hope that happens. The other books that I really want to read, one is a sequel from one of the books I've read this year so far, and that is Tasha Alexander's A Poison Season. I really thoroughly enjoyed the first book, And Only to Deceive, and I was really surprised by it. So hopefully the second one can keep up the momentum of what I enjoyed in the first. Secondly is a non-fiction book that I picked up whilst I was in Melbourne recently, and that is Jane Austen Alive by Claire Tomlin. I really have been trying to find this book. Apparently it's one of the best biographies for Jane Austen, and I really want to read it, especially seeing it's a bicentenary this year. And finally, a more recent purchase for me, I found this book quite cheap, and I have been meaning to pick it up for a while. So if any of you have read it, please let me know, and let me know your thoughts on The Golem and the Djinn. This is by Helene Wecker. It follows the story of a golem and a djinn who've come to New York City with their respective masters, and how they technically come together. I have heard very good things about this book, but I want to know more. I'm very intrigued, and it has got very good reviews, so it sounds right up my alley. A bit of a fantastical historical fiction, so I'm always up for those. Okay, so that is the mid-year book tag. I hope your reading so far in 2017 has been everything you want it to be, and let me know down below what is the biggest surprise you've had this year so far. I always like knowing books that have really surprised people's expectations. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!